Hi there, parents, and welcome into this first half of November astrology forecast, where I'm going to be taking a look at the energies that we have coming up and leading us into this eclipse, total lunar eclipse on November 8th that's taking place in Taurus. So, what can you expect? How your children might be acting or reacting, and really to give you some tools of how to better navigate this very intense transformational moment that us at a personal level, but also the collective, are going through at this time. My name is Chrissy Whistler. I am an intuitive, an astrologer, and I'm also the parent of two magical multi-dimensional kids. Now, if you find that you and your children are really struggling right now with this intensity, with this energy, do please reach out. I offer astrology birth chart readings for adults, but also for children, so we can see exactly, the time of their birth and the planets now, what is being triggered for them, what is their soul really pushing them into and towards, and how can you better support them at this moment in time. You'll find the information below at my website, chrissywhistler.com. And I do also offer coaching calls and support for those of you who do have these very sensitive kids and you're trying to step off the conventional path and way of doing things and you just don't know where to go next. I am here for you to support you on that journey. And please like this video and subscribe to this YouTube channel. It really helps to get this out there to more parents like you who are really wanting to meet your children where they are in their own unique ways and sensitivities. All right, so parents, what can you expect going forward? All right, so if you found that at this moment that you, like your kids, maybe with each other, or you with them, or maybe them with their friends, have been very fiery, very assertive, okay? Maybe a lot of anger, warrior-like energy. That's because on October 30th, Mars went retrograde in Gemini. These retrogrades with Mars can be very intense. So, very eruptive with temper, especially around not feeling like they're free or allowed to be free, allowed to follow their unique path. Mars is all about autonomy. And so it can be feeling really, really pushing on that right now and really frustrated if they don't have that. Now, so tempers flaring and so forth is also, again, very highlighted. In fact, almost all the videos that I have been filming this week have had my kids somewhere in the background kind of going at each other over the silliest things, like who's using the computer at that moment and not sharing. Like it has been what it is. So again, knowing that this is the energy of this moment allows me as a parent to have some more grace and understanding of what's going on, so I don't get so caught in that fiery emotion as well. Like I can better hold that pillar and space of calm. So see if that is being reflected in your life in some way. You may also find as well that sharp words can be very common right now. Really saying things that, again, very angry, instinctual, coming out like there's no thought behind them, and it can cause a lot of harm. So if that is happening, try and hold allowance for mistakes. It's almost like through the experience of having done something like that, to then reflect and not shame and not judge, but just being like, yeah, that wasn't really nice, huh? Yeah. To own up to what was said and done and to apologize. That can be some of the themes that our children may be experiencing at this time. And for you as a parent, you may expect to be really challenged on what you desire in your life as a parent, your life as a person, and the same with your kids. So this is really a time to deeply reflect on what is it that you actually want. We're talking deep down, unconscious soul level wants and desires coming up to the surface to be seen, to be witnessed. Mars retrogrades are also this experience of what direction are you moving in your life right now, and is it where you should be going? You may be feeling really stuck right now. You don't know which direction to take. Maybe it's around parenting decisions, or maybe it's in the unique support that your child needs and you simply don't know what to do. Like, the conventional ways of doing things are not working, and yet you're like, I don't know which path to take. I don't know. You may not even know where you're trying to get to. You just know that this current one is not working. So stuckness, you don't know which direction to take. This is some of that Mars retrograde energy. So do know that even though it's frustrating, it is the energy of this moment. So be compassionate with yourself, okay? Don't take things so personally. Don't take things so hard, parents. You really are doing your best. And I know that each of you are. As you are each learning and moving forward with your children, it's like you're teaching them even as you are also learning at the exact same time. So, Mars retrograde energies, where they begin, okay, where you are in your life, the direction you are taking will not be the same by the end of Mars retrograde, when Mars goes direct in early January. So do know that even if you're like stuck, I don't know which direction to take, this traditional way of doing things with my child isn't working, but I don't know what the new answer is going to be, you are going to be having clarity through this really inner reflective period that Mars is taking you and your children on. And that will be unique to each of you, depending on where you are in your life and what is needing the change, where that direction, those desires, okay, gut level desires, spark is taking you on, your passion. Okay, listen and tune into that. Really tune deep into the body right now, okay, into those desires, because that is your unconscious speaking to you. And sometimes it can be speaking it very clearly. And that clearly can simply be like, when I think about leaving my unique sensitive child in the school setting, my stomach turns into absolute knots. And that could be that clear communication from your body. So can you tune into that? Can you tune into what your unconscious is speaking to you and through you? Now, to move through this moment, surrender is the key. Mars retrograde with these eclipse energies that we are in the middle of, surrender. We also still have that Saturn to Uranus square. So surrender to what is. Don't hold on, grasping and clawing at what is old and outdated. It's crumbling. Like, you need to let it go. So you may have had a very traditional upbringing where you followed the path where you went to preschool and then kindergarten, and I'm only speaking here in the States. I know in other countries you have a different language for the school systems. But then you went to elementary school and so forth, high school, college, and then you got the job. Like, there was this road that you took, and that is what you were trained to do. You were taught as a child, and you may have done yourself. And now you have this kid who comes in and they're just like, no, I'm not doing that. Okay, what are you going to do? Can you surrender to what that child is clearly telling you? what their body, their sensitivity, their energy, their emotions are speaking to you? Can you take that direction that you may have been going on as a parent and shift it to someplace new, to go into the unknown? That's Mars, that's Aries. Go trailblaze into a fully unknown direction, to go explore the freedom for your children to be who they uniquely are. The freedom for you as a parent to follow them in their uniqueness, their unique way, and break away from everything you were taught as a child, everything that all the parents around you may be speaking and saying of. Can you go into this new direction, into the unknown, with your child leading the way? That is so much these energies that are really coming up for us as parents. And in fact, I just filmed the intuitive reading for parents and children, and that is so much this message. And I will be linking that for you below once it's released. But no, that is this energy, and that is this invitation for you. And so some questions that may be coming up for you with this Mars retrograde. What is it that you desire as a parent? What are you imagining your child's future to be like? And are you actually moving in that direction? Like, are you honoring those desires and what you value? Or are you still following the conditioning and the programming that you were taught and your parents were taught and so forth? It's also very, very interesting that Mars went retrograde right before we had Halloween and Samhain and All Souls Day. So there is this thinning of the veil that is happening, and we may be experiencing passed on loved ones really speaking through us in our body at this time. Our desires may actually be some of theirs coming up through us to be witnessed and seen, to be healed and integrated, or perhaps desires which society has said no to, we can actually have allowance for. And you may find that if you have very sensitive children, they could be picking up on this energy as well. So they may even be speaking to you, and it's actually not them. Like, they're almost like a channel for that wisdom, that information coming in through them. They're tapping into something that they don't even really know that they're doing. So you may be having some of that experience. So really be aware with your highly sensitive kids right now. Really pay attention and listen to them, because you might be surprised at what signs and messages are being channeled through them at this time. For example, like, I've just started on the 31st a death, dying, and transitions course. And yesterday, as we were driving to meet friends for trick-or-treating, Kate asks me from out of nowhere, or she didn't ask, she just said, "I really miss Grandma Emma." And that was actually my grandma, Kate's great-grandmother, who died 2 years ago at 100 years old. And we got to witness and really hold space for her during that transition time. It was absolutely beautiful. Completely changed my life and opened me up to a new way of seeing and holding death. But my point is that Kate was tuning into the ancestors who'd passed on. I didn't say anything, even though my grandmother was on my mind. Kate was picking up on that. And even, I think, sharing with me as well that loss, that energy of, she was sitting beside me as I was being like, wow, I really do miss my grandma, really tuning into that energy with that veil being so thin. So you may have had experiences like that with your children. All right, so on November 1st, we've got Mercury, the Sun, and Venus and the South Node are all conjunct in Scorpio. So what that means is we are entering a new cycle. We are setting a new seed intention, new dreams with all those energies, okay? The Sun being our creative potential, this outward masculine force and energy. This is individuality, unique universe to ourselves, being a leader and bold, releasing that self-expression out into this world, the celebration of our uniqueness, the confidence to go to the beat of our own drum, okay? That is all the Sun energy. And then Venus is all about relationships and values, what we love and enjoy, this giving and receiving of energy. And then Mercury is about the mind, intellect, and communication. Okay, I know, that was a whole lot. Those are all in Scorpio. What that means is this is a full spectrum of experiences at this moment around emotions, intensity, drama, manipulation, okay? So we are seeing a beginning, a new potential to really transform in how we are doing relationships with ourselves, with others, and most especially with our children. And I don't know about you, but I believe it's time that our collective society changes how it sees and shows up for our children. How to be in relationship with them, how to actually give them a voice, to move from this old paradigm of do as you're told and be seen and not heard into something new and different. So these energies are really asking us as parents, how have we been shining out in the world as parents? And was it in a good way? Was it respectful of our children, or was it kind of more underhand? Has it been fair? Are we being fair with our children? Are we listening to our children? These are the questions that are coming up and being asked of us. Or are we simply following this programming and conditioning that we were taught by parents, schools, teachers, society, because that's all we knew? Right? Clearing that energy. This isn't about blame. All of us, including our parents and our ancestors, did the best that we could with what we had. And yet, this now moment really is the time to transform. Are we actually being fair to our children, their needs and desires? Or are we just following along with what we as parents desire, what we believe is right and not what they believe is right? And it's through asking these questions that can be very difficult and challenging, because you also will be tapping into your own inner child who may not have gotten any of those things that you're trying to shift and give now to your children. So this is a very healing time, powerful transformation time, in how we are doing this kind of communication, in how we are being in relationship with our children. And this will look different to everything that you've known before, everything that you and your parents and grandparents were taught, because we are going into the future with us, into this new way of doing relationships. And we are also going to be transforming in how we are leading and becoming leaders. And do not be surprised if it is our children who are showing us the way how to do this. As parents, we might have seen from our own conditioning that being a leader as a parent was someone who had a very firm control of their children, very hard boundaries. Their children always listened and did as they were told. Never running up and down the grocery store aisles or, crying in public or having a tantrum. So do you remember those times when you may have looked at those parents and wondered like, wow, I wish my kids would just listen to me like that. I wish I could be a parent who's just like that. And I really believe that somewhere in our parenting journey, we've seen that and we've had those experiences, including myself, especially very early on in my parenting journey. So we can see a real transformation even about what being a leader as a parent is moving forward. You know, for me, through my journey, I can recognize in myself the leader that I have been and I have been becoming this entire time. And more often than not, it's been a quiet leader. It's like when I was at the park and Kate got hurt, and this is when my kids were really little, and Eric, I think he was like 2 or 3, really struggling because he had such a bleed through of other people's emotions. And here his sister, who he loves dearly, is hurt and crying. And it's like so overwhelming to him that he would just turn and try and hit her to make her stop, because it was just so like rocked his little nervous system and his emotions, and he couldn't handle it. So there I was, holding Kate with one arm and comforting her, and then the other arm, I'm holding this calm and safe space for Eric, and you know, keeping him from hitting her. And again, they were both very young, and I was just sitting there and holding that space and breathing and doing my very best to not be triggered. And it was after that when I was pretty much fully tapped out. Like that was all my reserves gone just through that interaction and holding that space. And yet I had parents come up to me later and say, wow, that was really amazing what you did. And I didn't feel amazing as I was doing it and after it. Like I was just like trying not to lose my own shit, you know, like I was really trying to just breathe and get through it without having my own inner child being triggered by this experience. And yet the ripple effect, being that quiet leader, carried forward with my just being in this different space and different relationship with my kids, instead of just yelling, like yelling at Eric, telling Kate, you know, just suck it up, stop crying, you know, like the traditional, conventional ways of parenting. And how you can be a leader just by being different and walking your unique path. And this is such a beautiful thing, because this energy of this moment, the astrology, the eclipse, a lot of Venus energy is here. A lot of this returning to the divine feminine. We currently have Black Moon Lilith in Cancer. She's opposite to Pluto in Capricorn. So there is this healing of the feminine, of the mother, of home, emotion, safe space, where that has been oppressed and suppressed in our lives, in our collective, in our structures and systems of the world. So real healing opportunity coming forward with this. And know too that initially this can be very uncertain, not clear how to move forward, how to begin this new beginning with these energies to transform this new way of doing relationship. It is a little confusing at first, because we're putting down the old and we're trailblazing and finding our way into the new, and we don't know where we're going. So just know that even if you have that feeling, it's okay, because you will know where you're going, especially as we move into Mars going direct in January. That's going to get even clearer. All right, so on November 8th, we have a total lunar full moon eclipse in Taurus. So if you don't know where that falls in your birth chart or your children's, and you want to know, again, please do reach out, and I can do a birth chart reading for you, and we can see what is up and being highlighted for you and for them at this time. So this full moon, we've got Uranus, the moon, and the north node are all in conjunction. And in the south node, we've got Mercury, the sun, and Venus. So we've got these planets that are actually being square to Saturn right now. So what does that mean? We can be really experiencing control and restriction around authority figures and leaders at this time. So we as parents, as the authority of our children, can be really coming into that energy and struggling with that to give them their freedom and their autonomy, what they value, what they desire. Those kinds of things can be really up. And our children may be experiencing that from schools, teachers, coaches, bosses, if you have older kids. So again, we can be experiencing a lot of confusion and uncertainty at this time. What direction are we going in, and is it the right one? These lunar eclipses are really about shining a light. It's like a culmination point, a pivot point. And with this in Taurus, it's going to be all around money, land, resources, what we value, how we're doing exchange with each other. Now, I went in much more detail on that world stage in the other video that I did, which I will link for you. This one here, I'm going to be really focusing in on being a parent and your children. But of course, we can't separate ourselves from the world and what's happening. So do know that there's a lot of transformation taking place in these areas. Very eruptive, seismic, okay? We've got Uranus conjunct that north node. Uranus has all this energy. It wants to move forward and it can't. It's in fixed earth. So, you know, what does it happen when the pressure builds? You know, we have an earthquake. So that can be happening in your relationship with your children, their relationship with friends and so forth. And again, seeing that in society, physically and also even like politically, financially, and so forth. So that is very up in the astrology, and also very emotional, okay, with this moon right there. So you can be seeing your kids getting very eruptive, very rebellious, very protesting with you right now, especially if you have older children and teenagers, because Uranus is wanting to go in this new direction, to discover and try new things, to move into this future and to experiment. And yet there is this feeling of really being held down and trapped. Saturn's like, I don't want to budge. The old wants to hang on. The new wants to break free. So a lot of tension in those areas coming up. And if you have very sensitive kids, they will absolutely be picking up on that. Even if they don't have access to social media or the news, lots of information coming in with their delusion, truth, illusion, what is what, we don't know. So much getting thrown at us at this time. So even if your kids don't have access to that or even don't care, like it's just not in their worldview because they're younger, that doesn't mean they can't feel it. So be aware, parents, that they can be picking up on things that are in the ethers, that are in the quantum field around them. As parents, we can very much be having this transformational experience of being cracked open, of our hearts being cracked open, so we can make room to build this new future, to love and have relationships with our children in these new and different ways, to be a family in a new and different way, to be a community, to allow our kids to be their unique, brilliant, sensitive selves. And that is who they are, and it is okay. So this real cracking open also in the ways of how we communicate, that we are the full experience of emotions and not just what society has deemed acceptable. You know, think of the child having a tantrum at the store because there is this slew of candy right at the checkout register. And please tell me, parents, if you've had this experience and it's made you mad. You need to pay for your food to leave the store, and yet there's a line and your child is parked right next to the bright candy and the candy wrappers, and you're trying to hold that space of like, no, we're not going to have candy. You're teaching them, and yet they get upset because they are very emotional creatures, and they're like, I know what the good stuff is. I want this candy. And everybody around you is looking at you and judging you and being like, can't you just get that child to shut up? And you as the parent are holding that calm, and you're listening to your child even as you're holding firm and saying, no, I'm sorry. I know you really want that. I hear you. I see you. The answer's still no. And on the inside, you're also like really mad at everybody else around you. And you're like, if you want this child to stop screaming and expressing their emotion and they're upset about this candy, why are you not letting us go to the front of the line so we can leave? Or why are you even having this display of candy here? Oh, wait, that's commercialism. You want our money. And there's so much more, right? Like the addictions of sugar and so forth, right? But that's my point, is like the child expressing these emotions is not acceptable. But how about maybe what's not acceptable is having that candy right there in their face, and you as a parent not having a choice but to head in that direction in order to leave the store with your items paid for so you don't go to jail and so forth, right? Like, let's look at this here. This is what this full moon, this eclipse in Taurus is really asking us to dig deep into and to look at. So this is this transformation taking place. Again, what do we value? Even just that grocery store experience, what is it that we are actually valuing here? Oh, wait, world, you actually really value getting my money and my kids addicted to candy because you have it right there for them. And I know not all stores do that, and some have started to, at least here, where I live in California, like some of them do not just have candy, and yet many of them still do. So, but like even a value around beauty, okay, this can be very up for your older children at this time. Or do we actually value wisdom of our elders? What does true beauty really mean, okay? This disconnection from the models on the magazines of this is beautiful, or is beautiful when someone smiles at you kindly. One is an illusion with Photoshop and so forth, right? Airbrushed. And then the other is you being who you are and being kind. Where's true beauty? And with Saturn being square to all these planets, Saturn's really making us work for these new changes to come in. So we may be finding a lot of resistance from the old structures, authority, those conventional ways. People who may still be very much hooked into those conventional ways of doing. And so we can have resistance around that. Even within ourselves, our parts, our lineage and ancestry to change as parents. And yet, even still, there is a shakeup that is happening around all things, especially Venus and feminine. Okay. This experience of hidden truths really coming to light and being revealed. The rug getting ripped out from under us. And you may not know how to think or feel, or a real jumbled mishmash of feelings. It's not clarity. It's hard to discern. So this particular eclipse is much more like a worldly focused energy with Taurus and money and resources. So if you again want more of that, go see the other video that I did. This one I really tried to focus on what this could mean for you as parents. You may have children, if they have a lot of Aquarius energy in their chart, very unique, very out there and different. They may be getting downloads from the future at this time. I have no doubt that Eric is. He can't communicate that with me, and yet I can feel that in him of like, oh, there's something coming in here. because Uranus is that future. So again, just sudden downloads from the future information that can be coming in through our children at this time. So I'm going to leave you with some just final thoughts and tips to navigate this moment. Okay. Again, as parents, we can't separate ourselves from what's happening in the outside world. And our kids will be picking up on these energies. So be very calm right now. Be gentle with yourself, with them. Hold compassion. Don't sweep the truth under the rug. Try to explain what is happening. If your kids pick up on it and they ask, what's going on? Tell them. Tell them in a way that's appropriate for them and their understanding, their age. But don't sweep it under the rug. Let them know. And please allow yourself to say, I don't know what's going to happen, but this is what I am going to do. And maybe that is, I'm going to stay calm. I'm going to stay grounded. I'm not going to focus on the news and what's being said. I'm going to really focus on you right now. Let's really just focus on us and how can we go play. And ask your children to teach you how to play again. Let them guide you on that, okay? They are the masters at play and being at the present moment. They are our greatest teachers for what is coming, and we as this collective humanity are being asked to go through. So no matter what is revealed at this eclipse, the truths that come to light, like this truly is a time to plant a new seed, to have this more balanced return between being outward and productive, that focused masculine energy, with the softer, more cyclical feminine, a return to listening. Can we find new ways of communicating and being in relationship with our children that is this full spectrum of experience in life? A lot of energy clearing. We were being called to discover these new possibilities, to explore, to go within for this reactionary chamber of a moment that we are in. All these planets in Scorpio, okay? Life, death, the rebirth process. So stay grounded. Stay present, parents, being in your five senses. Don't get caught up in the fears and worries and what ifs, okay? Worrying about that future, worrying about money. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Are we going to lose our home? Those can be very real scenarios for you, since this message is going to be collective. But try to just be present. Even focus in on that 24-hour cycle and let your focus be on there, and not going out into the future in that cycle and that worry that will really be active at this time. Witness any emotions or the depths that are coming up for you. Again, you don't sweep them under the rug either. Process them, see them, and see if you can find the lesson in them, the blessing, even in that darkness, to look for what is light. We will have a lightening of these energies as the planets move out of Scorpio and into Sagittarius. So it will shift, okay? But this eclipse is highlighting, it's going to ripple out for the next 6 months. So we are in this transformational time, especially around money and finances, land, and so forth, okay? Value. That's still going to be very active. But we're gonna feel a little bit of shift, okay? Not a full shift, because we are in the transformation right now, in building this new earth, this new future, with our children really coming in and being the guide. So again, focus in on them. Let them show you the way through this, because they will. They have that power within them. So again, if you do need support, please reach out, chrissywhistler.com. I do offer coaching calls as well as birth chart readings for you and for your kids. And please like this message and subscribe to this channel. That really helps to break out of the YouTube algorithm to find parents like you who want to be aware, who want to change and grow and to be in this new relationship and partnership with your kids. And please let me know how you are doing. So me and everyone in this community can see you and support you and hold space for you. To remind you that even though you are physically walking this journey alone, you are not alone. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Take care. Bye-bye.